Where did the tariffs come from? Who conceived their play? What makes one think they're welcome on this?
Hey y'all, Joefer here, the Cranky Old Gay Guy. Happy Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025. So today we're going to be talking about that international man of mystery, Ron Vera. That's right. Who is Ron Vera, you say? Well, Ron Vera is a name that pops up in the current political atmosphere quite a bit when it comes to tariffs. Ron Vera is a trade specialist who really likes the idea of tariffs and seems to think that tariffs are going to save the country. Well, Ron Vera also influences Navarro, which is Peter Navarro, who is currently President Trump's top trade advisor. Now, during the first administration, Mr. T reached out and said, Jared, my son-in-law, I need a trade advisor. So Jared said, I'll find one, Daddy T. And he came across a book called Death by China. And Death by China has to do with China ripping off the United States. And he knew that his father-in-law would be really into this concept because his father was also mad at China. I'm guessing because he didn't get a hotel deal somewhere in China, or he thought he was going to and he didn't, or he got a bad deal somehow. So Jared reaches out to Peter Navarro and says, Peter, would you like to meet the president? And Peter says, oh, yes, because Peter's a big Trump supporter. Trump pretty much hires him on the spot as his top trade aide. That's during the first administration. Well, he put in some tariffs, but it wasn't anything like happening now. As we roll along, we're now in the second administration. And as you know, if you pay attention to anything on the news, tariffs are here. Tariffs are gone. I'm putting in more tariffs. I'm taking away tariffs. I'm stopping tariffs. I'm suspending tariffs, except on China. China's going to get hit hard with a 125% tariff. Now we're going to make it 200%. It changes day by day. Who's behind that? Peter Navarro is the one actually behind the whole tariff structure deal. And he really hates China for some reason. So that's really all he really cares about. So when Trump suspends the tariffs for other countries, Peter doesn't care as long as China gets hit hard. Peter Navarro is rich. So the hardships that people will feel when tariffs hit other countries, Peter seems to think that, oh, well, we'll just ride them through and we'll manufacture everything here. It'll take some time, but everything will be fine. It's just a little discomfort. Well, it's discomfort for people except the rich. So Peter has nothing to worry about. He can afford to spend more on anything that he wants or needs. It's the people who don't have millions and millions of dollars who will be suffering from this, but he doesn't seem to care. So who is Peter Navarro? Peter Navarro is a PhD economist. He studied at Harvard. I'm not sure if that's where his PhD is from. And he also was a professor at the University of California. And at one point, I think he ran for mayor in San Diego and he lost. Peter Navarro was once a Democrat. And then he found MAGA, and he is a Republican now and a big supporter. He has a number of books out. They are fiction books, but they have to do with trade and trade wars, that kind of thing. And one of the people he quotes a lot is this gentleman, Ron Vera, who seems to be a trade specialist. And that influences a lot of his decisions. And Ron Vera's quotes back up a lot of Peter Navarro's theories, like increasing tariffs to get what you want. Well, he now gives this information to Trump, and Trump uses it, and you can see what a mess it's making in the world in the stock market, in the 401ks, in your mutual funds, in your retirement accounts, all of that stuff. So before he was brought back in for the second administration, it came out that Ron Vera, the man who's influenced everything, is fictitious and doesn't exist. So who is Ron Vera? Ron Vera is a figment of the imagination of Peter Navarro. It is Peter Navarro's name. They moved the letters around and they spelled Ron Vera. And isn't it convenient that this fictitious personality supports all of the theories, trade theories, that Peter Navarro puts out? And this came out, I want to say in 2019, when the New York Post, I believe it was the Post, could have been the Times, but I think it was the Post, looked into it and discovered that this was a fake entity, a fake personality. And when confronted on it, Peter Navarro said, ha, 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 it took you 20 years to figure that out? Artistic license, you know? And that got back to Trump, and Trump didn't seem to care. He goes, whatever. But you got to understand, too, that Mr. T has used alias names a lot in his past. In the 80s and 90s, he used to call himself different names. One of them was John Barron. And he would call radio shows. He would call news networks. Whenever there was a project he was working on that he was trying to promote, he would call in and really talk up how great Donald Trump is and how great this project is. Or he would call in if that project or Trump was being talked about negatively, and he would stick up for Trump. Well, I've heard some of those tapes, and it sounds just like Trump talking. So I don't think he was really fooling anyone. So he didn't really care, though, that Peter Navarro had, even in his academic works, had quoted Ron Vera as this great specialist who supports him, when in reality, Ron Vera was him. Another reason I think that Trump really likes Peter Navarro is because of his loyalty. Peter Navarro spent 4 months in prison for defying a subpoena from the January 6th committee. After the 2020 election, was it the 2020 election? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was. After the 2020 election, I forgot what year it was today. It's 2025. He was spreading conspiracy theories about how the election was stolen, how the race was stolen, how there was voter fraud. And after multiple court cases, all of that was proven wrong. So when January 6th committee called him up, said, here's your subpoena, show up, he defied it. He ended up going to prison for 4 months. That was great. You know, Trump loved that and brought him into the second administration because he was so loyal to him. So when you're wondering why everything is costing more and why America has such a crappy reputation right now, especially regarding trade and not honoring trade deals, and no one wants to set up trade or sign a contract because who knows if it'll be honored, all of that is Peter Navarro's doing. And he tells Trump he is now the lead trade advisor, the top in the country for Mr. T. And he pretty much does whatever Peter Navarro says is the way to go. Like, as long as we screw China, that's all that's important. And that's why we are in the mess that we are in today. I am going to look down now and check my notes just to make sure I've covered everything. And there you have it. Who is Ron Vera? Ron Vera is Peter Navarro. Now, if that doesn't make you cranky, I don't know. I guess you're just a Pollyanna or something, and you're seeing the good in everybody, because I don't see any good in any of this story. I don't know if it's a big deal that he was misrepresenting himself, but it was a big deal, I think, when he misrepresented himself if it was in academic works, because those are supposed to be truthful. Why does he have so much influence on Mr. T and the decisions that are being made for this country? I don't know. but it all just makes me cranky. And on that note, I am off to the hinterlands. Have a great day and stay cranky. Bye-bye.
Where did the tariffs come from? Who conceived their play? What makes one think they're welcome on this or any other day? Big T, he asked Jared to find him an economics man. Jared knew T disliked China, so he grabbed Navarro by the hand. Navarro wrote the book, Death by China. He brought tariffs into play. He quoted an economic genius, a man with a lot to say. An economist and professor thought as legitimate as can be. Now his beliefs are causing hardships with chaos and no relief. This well-quoted expert in Navarro's books we find never really existed, but in Navarro's mind. He made up this leading crusader from the letters of his own name, someone to back up his opinions and help him play his games. Now Mr. T has learned the truth, but it matters not to him. Admitting that he was duped would be an unthinkable sin. So Navarro is now our nation's top-seeded trade economist. His rise was based on lies he told. A fictional character was his assist. He said tariffs would combat China and make America great again. After hearing that MAGA catchphrase, the orange man, he was all in. That brings us to our current story. High prices are here to stay. He's destroyed the U.S. economy with these silly games he plays. In conclusion to our story, what will be, well, it will be. We'll have to just try and hang in there. We'll just have to wait.